Hello and welcome back to another sketchbook tour. So I finished this one in about a month and a half. We can see the started on 8/17. I pretty much started it immediately after I finished the other one, and this one I'm actually really excited about. If you hear rumbling in the background, that's the washing machine. But anyway, I'm really excited about it because I did a lot of really fun stuff in here that I'm super proud of, and also because the cover of this sketchbook is really fugly. It was a $5 Strathmore sketchbook at Target. I like the size, it's like very big, but the cover was not conducive to making it look cool or cute. So that's why I'm not showing it. And then also I didn't do any like inside cover things this time because I didn't feel like it. And I didn't want any pressure because that makes it not fun for me. But anyway, here's the first page. Keeping it light. I wanted to do some stuff with colored pencil and then I realized that I didn't like it, so I stopped. This disgusting thing is from my kneaded eraser that is on life support. It looks like a piece of gum on asphalt. Here it is. It's because I didn't know that you were supposed to pull it apart after you're done working with charcoal to get all the pieces out, so it looks like this now. And the reason this is here is because when I bring my sketchbook to school, I like put it there and then close it really hard so it keeps my sketchbook closed, and so I can keep it with me and it doesn't get any crap on it. But now there's a giant disgusting smudge on my sketchbook, so whatever, YOLO. In this sketchbook, I was trying to work on my line work because of the crit I got on my tattoo portfolio. So that's what this is from. This I did in microns, and these are just like, oh yeah, there's a lot of vertical pages, so let me rotate this bad boy. Yeah, so here's some of the vertical drawings. I just found this random brown pen lying around. Lucas is pissing in this one, and Adrian is reading a book. This is realistic, this is not. I don't think Adrian would read if it was up to him. But I was beefing heavy with microns. Here's another one of the finished line pieces I was practicing with. I don't like microns for, at least maybe it was this paper, or I just don't think I'm not good at using them yet, because if you look closely you can't see it from this angle, or maybe I'll try and bring it closer, but then the light goes away. Oh well. The lines are really janky up close, if you can see that, because the pressure I had to use to get the micron to line, I had to like really hold down on it, and I have like a bunch of different sizes too. I don't know, man. I stopped aligning with microns after a while because I was like, this shit is stupid, and also I found a better pen that works for the way that I draw. But yes, more lining practice on this page. This was really fun. I really like the perspective on this one. This was me trying to figure out what the freak my problem was in regards to microns, like why I just wasn't able to get smooth lines. Even in these drills I was doing, I still wasn't able. I know that's not an uncommon issue. A lot of people have the shaky line issue when it comes to microns, and I am no exception. But I found a different pen lying around, the Sharpie S Gel, and I was able to line like I do digitally. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm not bad. I just don't know how to use microns, which is always nice to hear. But yeah, here is Adrian and Marnie, and then also Adrian and Marnie just chilling on this page. That says Scattle. Yeah, there's a lot of lettering in this book too, which is really fun. I just had a really good time in this book, also because my classes started, and I'm taking an art class right now, so that's been bolstering my creativity. I'm just having a blast there. Here is another brown pen page. I hadn't drawn humans in a really long time, so I gave it a shot again. This was supposed to be Marisol chilling in a chair, but the proportions are wrong, and then I lost interest. This is a chicken shredding on a skateboard. I don't know if you can see it, so I'll bring it closer. Yeah, there it is. This was another lining test. This was, again, with the Sharpie S Gel. I think as soon as I realized that I liked the Sharpie one better, I basically did not use my microns. I still use them to sketch, I just don't use them to line. And also, I don't even like using them to sketch. They have a very rough, bad feeling to me. And again, this is personal. If you like working with microns, more power to you. I wish I had that skill set. And then just a fun Adrian sketch with the brown pen. I think that's the last of the brown pen drawings. I don't know where it went, but it was my roommate's pen, so she probably took it back. More lining practice. This was based off a really stupid comic my friend sent to me, or to the server, I guess. It was a 100-line joke but the punchline is on this page, so you can just pause if you want to read what that says. I'm not going to explain anything for that. This was supposed to be, I have this Micron PN that has kind of a brush tip nib. I dried out within 2 weeks of owning it, so I don't know. That can't be a user error because I know how to take care of my stuff, but I mean, hey, who knows? I was trying to line a sketch, this looks good, this didn't, and then I stopped because I was like, oh, you know, cut my losses. By the way, there's 112 pages in here, so that's why I'm kind of speeding through this. Yeah, more practice with the Sharpie one. Just, it really gives a smooth line. The only issue I have with it is that it's not waterproof. I like my lines to be permanent because I'm clumsy and I spill things all the time. But also, you know, non-permanent ink mediums also have their uses, but I'm a ballpoint pen truther, as you'll come to see in the next like 40 pages. I realized that I really liked and enjoyed drawing palm trees like this. I just think it's so fun. This was just a 3D breakdown of a car, you know, basic shapes, very standard stuff. That was supposed to be Megamind. I did that from memory. I think it comes across. Yeah, that was my second day of school. The first day was August 25th. Just more 3D shape, ballpoint work. That was some texture exercise. I used that loosely because there was no reference or anything. Most of these are off the dome. Obviously, I do observational studies and stuff, which I'll point out when we get to those. Another vertical page, and then a page that's upside down. Yeah, there's Lucas. I never draw his full beast form because in the story, he had the glands that help him regulate that removed because he was being annoying, which is a gross understatement of the events that occurred. But yeah, he can't shift fully, unlike the other characters. And then here's a Miata, I think that was from memory, and then a motorcycle, clearly from memory. Just random stuff, playing around with shapes and whatever. It's kind of cool to see my lettering at the beginning and at the end, because I think I did get better, which is always nice. At least better in the style that I like to do it in. I've been just really slowly developing Santi's beast form because I'm lazy. Sorry, this thing's on a swivel chair, so it's my knee. But yeah, I was figuring out his skull. I wanted him to have a shorter snout because a lot of the other characters, like Lucas, obviously has a very long face in beast form. He's an alligator. And then Adrian, which is on the next page, he has a pretty standard, I would say, wolf proportion face, very canine-like. I don't have a lot of flat-faced Jags because a lot of the time it's not the silhouette I'm looking for, but to make Santi stand out, because in his human form he looks almost like the default broker character, which doesn't make any sense to probably most of the people watching this because they've never seen the story. But my friends who know the type of characters that I design by default, Santi very much fits into that default, so I was trying to make his beast form unique at least. And I will be going back and redesigning it, or not redesigning his true form, but just amplifying it and stuff. Here is some more lettering practice, and then also just Adrian for fun. I actually really like this headshot. My favorite part is the lips here and the extra skin. I think it's really realistic and close to how a dog's would, because Jags have flexible lips, at the very least in this part. Like Lucas's snout is hard in the front, so he can't move his lips, but Adrian's is flexible all the way through. So lots of fun things with each of their different beast forms. And then, yeah, more lettering and abstract shapes. Most of these are actually just abstract shapes. So if you're like, damn, what does that say? Probably nothing. The answer is probably nothing. My friend and I carpool to school, so I get to sit in on her graphic design classes that are late at night. And so I did these sketches in that one. That one was really fun. And that's also why I've been more inspired to do some lettering, just because a lot of it is branding and logos, which is really fun because I don't usually do that stuff. This is when I was waiting for her to actually to meet me so we could drive home, and I was doing some skull sketches, playing around with nerve connections right here for electrostatic sensing. I forgot if it's like I don't know, but anyway, sharks have it and gators have it too. That's why they have the pits in their face. It's to sense changes in the water. I was playing around with Lucas having that. I don't think evolutionary, it wouldn't make any sense for him, but also Jags don't make any evolutionary sense anyway, so it's like, yeah, you know, whatever. YOLO. He has bumps on his snout anyway, might as well put some function to that. But this is the lettering I was talking about. I was just playing around with my friend's brand and doing some freehand stuff. That was really fun. And Then I tried to apply it to my own logo and immediately failed. I don't know why I was so uninspired. But yeah, there is that. And then with my own username, of course, I do like playing around with it. I find that I enjoy doing that kind of stuff with the most. I think one of the older sketchbook tours has a complete version of this in the end of it. This is when I was not art blocked, I was just really uninspired, but I wanted to draw, so I drew some pads and then a flying pad creature. Yeah. Yep. These characters, if you have been, I doubt that anybody has been following me since I was 11 on DeviantArt, but by the off chance you are one of those people, you probably remember these characters. They were, my elementary school, for context, had this contest called Young Authors, and I won every year except the last, and one of my stories was about dragons fighting in an arena, and that was the 3 main characters. Multiple perspectives, all of that. My roommate drew these. This was the little fox character that she used to draw when she was a kid. This is a fun little dingbat. Dingbats are these affordable housing units that were built in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, I can't remember, in LA. They are not up to code now, which is why they're not being made anymore, but they are very cute. So I drew a dingbat. There's my fish and a chair and a palm tree. Yeah, just a page full of joy. More lettering and random sketches. This is very close to Lucas's original beast form. My friends probably, if you're one of my friends, then you know what I'm talking about, the white one where he looked more like a gharial crocodile rather than just a normal American or a saltwater crocodile, not alligator. But yeah, there's Marnie sitting on a curb. I always think it's more interesting and more fun to draw subjects facing away from the camera, because everybody draws a subject facing towards the camera, but drawing them facing away, it makes you think differently. I really enjoy it. I've been doing that a lot recently. This is another sketch while I was waiting for my friend to come out of class to pick me up. I was just doing it at a bench. And I think I did these in the graphic design class again. I don't remember. No, I definitely did because of all the lettering. It usually inspires me to do that. That was just an exercise in standing, because I struggle with drawing people just standing, but I also know that is a common issue, so I'm not really embarrassed about it. More Santi sketches. I was playing around with him having tusks. Lucas has tusks that like come down from his skull in this direction, but nobody has any that are coming up, similar to a boar. More birds. I love my hatching. Fun fact, my drawing professor hates this pen because of all the ink splotches it leaves, and the reason why I'll talk about later, but I love that pen to death. I don't know, I'm curious. I like them, I think they're fine, but I can definitely see how they'd be annoying to certain viewers. This was just a silly little piece I wanted to work on. I'm happy with the car. I'm not happy with the perspective of Adrian in the chair. I think it's scaled wrong. The chair is in perspective. I think he's mostly in perspective. I just don't like his proportions. And then the lettering is fine. I have no strong opinions on that. Another vertical page, which is kind of annoying for me to showcase, but yeah, there's a sphere, very classical art assignment, the sphere with bounce lighting and a cast shadow and stuff like that. I was just writing the specs down so I could remember, because the way he does assignments, it works better for me to just write them down than take a picture of the blackboard. This was a sketch page I did with one of my art classmates when we went out to have lunch. I did most of the sketching. She did a few of the blue ones, I think. But yeah, that was fun. It was also incredibly expensive because it was university food. This page is upside down, or it's actually in all the directions. But yeah, there's a dragon head kind of close to an ice wing from Wings of Fire, if you're familiar with the franchise. And then Lucas in a motorcycle. Very staples. I think I'm hitting the swivel chair. Well, anyway, I'll probably just rotate it again so it's horizontal. But yeah, I've been having fun with scale patterns. I did a texture assignment for my art class, and one of them was scale patterns, so I had a field day with that. This is another random sketch page. The Pride Center at my university just has a bunch of stamp making stuff, so I made a nudibranch stamp. That was fun. Drawing stuff in exaggerated perspective and always trying to work on fabric folds. This was some torn fabric that I tried to draw straight off the dome. I don't think it's super accurate, but it's better than nothing. This is one of my friend's mom's boyfriend. I was describing him to my friend, and I was like, this guy was unreal. I just need to draw him. So keep in mind, this guy's like 40, tatted to the nines, sideways baseball cap, dangly earring, giant gold chain with a cross in it, t-shirt that's too small as his nipples were looking at me, pants were sagging, showing like what's it called, Ethica underwear. It was that material. He had a Louis Vuitton belt on with the extra just flapping in the wind, flaccid, and then these army green jeans that were also 2 sizes too small. And I don't remember what shoes he had on because there was just too much going on. But yeah, that was that guy. He sucked. He was not a good person. Horses and random sketches. Nothing much to say there. This was just off the dome. No references, which you'll be able to tell later because I actually did go to the museum. And then I sketched the fossils from real life, and that was really cool. This is just one of my professors did a paper on fluid dynamics and the way that fish swim, and I was very interested in it, so I read it and wrote down some papers and then scheduled an appointment to ask him about it. And this is some lettering or abstract shapes, I don't remember. I joined a robotics club. This was the chassis layout that somebody else drew, and then I drew the components for the gear and the spacers and stuff. That's it, nothing much there. And then more questions for the paper that I actually was able to ask, and some sketches on the side. I really do like the sketch of Adrian, though. I think it's really cool. And this dog one, I like it a lot. Yeah, no, that's about it on that one. These were more miscellaneous sketches. This was supposed to be somebody leaning on the hood of their car, kicking their legs back and forth. This is another one. I draw a lot of my room, from memory. Yeah. This was supposed to be a 3D shape breakdown of somebody sitting in a swivel chair. Funny enough, I think the 3D shape breakdown is more fluid than the like realistic curved shapes I tried to do. Yeah, and then some exaggeration in a car because I felt like I hadn't done any of that in a long time. Adrian being dynamic. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. That is the pen my drawing professor hates, and here it is again. So I went to Dino Fest at the Natural History Museum of LA, and it was really funny because I went online to buy the tickets and they were sold out, and I shed a few tears, I'm not gonna lie. I really like dinosaurs, in case you couldn't tell. And then I was like, wait, if I just purchase a membership that is 10 times the cost of a normal ticket, then I'll be able to go. And so I did that. Did it hurt my bank? Yes. Do I regret it? Also no, because I'm just gonna go back again. But these are the still lifes from that. And the funny thing about it was I ran into a bunch of students from Otis who were also drawing the fossils. And they thought that I was in one of the drawing classes. Because one of them came up to me and was like, oh, are you drawing the whole thing or just the head? Or just a part? And I was like, oh, I'm just doing the head for the warm-up and stuff. I was like, wait, are you part of a class? And they were like, yeah. And they were like, oh, you're not a student? I was like, no. But that was fun. They were really cool. There's a lot of students there drawing. I'm sure that some of them are also just regular people like me. But yes, I had such a fantastic time, and especially drawing these fossils from, 3/4 behind, quartering away from the camera, or quartering towards, or from bird's eye view, because if you've ever been to the museum, they have a balcony that you can get up on to look at the dinosaurs. So this is an Allosaurus fossil. What a blast. Like, also the lighting and the setup and the staging of these fossils is just fantastic. To light them in the way that they do. There's multiple light sources, but they don't compete with each other. It's just beautiful. Same with the T-Rex. A T-Rex's head actually always gives me a run for my money. I think it's just because it's a more bulky shape, especially from the front, instead of the slim ones that I normally draw. But that's why this was so fun, especially with the 2 light sources. It really adds a lot of depth. There was an Edmontosaurus vertebrae that 2 T-Rex fossils were fighting over, which is cool. And there's the Carnotaurus fossil, basic side profile view, which is the most boring one, in my opinion. They also had this bad boy. I don't remember how to say the name. Corythosaurus, I think. It's in the wall. If you know it, you know it. It was a hard one to draw because I couldn't step back far enough to avoid, perspective distortion, because it was such a long and large fossil. I could have stood on the other side of the 2nd floor. I just didn't want to. But that was really fun. I did get bored of it pretty quickly, which is why it's kind of unfinished. And yeah, here are the T-Rex fossils. This is still when I was on the 2nd floor, so I think the eye level would probably be like right here. So fun. and then outing myself as an Isle and Visa Bermuda and Path of Titans player. You know, whenever I hear somebody say trike or call something a juvie, I know what you are, and I think that's a good case of this because they have the juvenile skeleton right next to it. But yeah, angles like this, that is so fun. I had so much fun on the foreshortening and distortion of the tail as it comes at you, especially when it's a curved surface like that. What a blast. I really had a good time at Dino Fest. It was the 10th anniversary as well. And yeah, this is a Carnotaurus quartering away from the camera. And then foot and a mammoth pelvis because I went to the, what's it called? Just the era after the dinosaurs and the Ice Age and stuff, and I was drawing the fossils there. And there was a horse-like creature that I also drew because I do like equines. Unfinished saber tooth, and yeah, just oops, hold on, let me see if you can see that. Yeah, just a really fun time. That was awesome, and I'm gonna go again. And now I can for free because I have the membership. These were random sketches trying to, I don't know, just have fun. Fabric, this was right before the texture assignment. So I was trying to do glass, but it looks more like it was plastic wrapped, and you know what, that's fine. I'll take that. More random sketches in practice. Pages like this is just, it's almost like thinking for me or just twiddling my thumbs. They're not super inspired, which isn't a bad thing. It's just different than when I'm drawing something, you know. This is Puke. Yep, there he is. And then these were practice for the texture assignment before I sat down and did it. The texture assignment was actually in Graphite, but if you've been watching a few of my sketchbook tours, you know that I am a Graphite hater. I think it doesn't work for what I'm trying to achieve in my own personal art. I don't like that the more graphite you lay on the page, the shinier it gets. I'm usually looking for depth. And again, with the impermanence thing, I just don't like mediums that aren't permanent. And like, you can't see it, but from my point of view, this already is like shining. Even though there's a lot of graphite, it should be darker, but it's shiny, and I think that's very annoying. But here are some exercises I did just to get used to it. I saw this cool bird on Pinterest, and so I did that. And then these are actually sprayed down with a fixative, so they won't bleed onto my pages too bad. Here is another vertical page. This shit was so annoying, I knew it was going to be annoying to film because of all the flipping and stuff, but I'm trying not to compromise on what makes drawing in a sketchbook fun for me just for a YouTube video. I want to value my art over content always, so it's also why I've stopped posting in other places. Oops. Yeah, this piece I really enjoy. I hate graphite, but it was still fun to work with. It's always fun to try out new stuff. I just probably won't be using it permanently. And then yeah, more planning for, I had like a composition assignment and I had to redo my sphere assignment because the first one was bad. And I was doing it in ballpoint pen. These were in graphite, but these were in pen. And I forgot who it was, but someone brought home a bunch of these really good black ballpoint pens, and they were just like butter to draw with. So I love this pen. I even wrote it. I just had a blast with it, and I really like this drawing of Adrian working on a car. I think it's cute. I really like the shape language I put on him. I'm beefing with the way the car is drawn. It's just not super accurate, but who cares? I think it's a good drawing. I enjoy it. And then I decided that I wanted to start on my D-Rex redesign. I have beef with the D-Rex design from the recent Jurassic World movie. I think it is a bad design for its application because it does not fit the visual identity of Jurassic World. So I took a list, like in this universe, they were making hybrids for money. We know that. So I did a list of the most popular dinosaurs, and then I started to combine them. Another one of my issues with the D-Rex design was that it was quadruped. I think that ruins the look of the T-Rex, but you'll see in a few pages that I struggled with finding a way to make a distorted T-Rex without duplicating the Indominus Rex. And also at the same time, you could have easily worked in like, oh, it was a failed I-Rex instead of whatever the freak that thing was. I think the issue lies in that Gareth Edwards, the director of the movie, obviously a very passionate monster movie maker. I mean, looking at his filmography and also reading the production notes of the movie. But that was actually a weakness because the D-Rex looks like a good monster. It does not look like a good dinosaur for the series, in my opinion. But that is enough from me. Here are the drawings. This is my first pass. Super crazy. I put like a a trike crest, baryonic snout, a bunch of polymelia, which is when the Sonic the Hedgehog gene is duplicated in the, that's a real thing by the way, is duplicated in the fetus and it starts to grow extra limbs or digits. Super cool phenomenon. I was looking at lipomas, cleft lips, fibromas, or I don't remember what the term is, but in reptiles, the reason they don't form lipomas is because their fat cells are different, so they tend to grow like fibrous growths rather than mammals like us, for example, with lipomas and stuff like that, because of the way they metabolize water and things like that. But yeah, here was another pass that I did, also quadruped. I think it's just because knowing what the D-Rex design looks like right now is making it hard to design something unique and new. I have like a third pass after this, I think, and I'm still not happy with it. I'm definitely going to revisit this, and I also want to make a video on my design process because I think that would be fun. I see a lot of human character designs on YouTube. I don't see a lot of creature designs, at least to the caliber that I'm interested in, so I think that'd be fun to do. Yeah, and then I was looking at metabolic bone disease, which if you're a reptile owner, you are very familiar with, because I think that a creature like this would be very, what's the word, susceptible, especially when it's kept in the conditions it appeared to be kept in the movie. Yeah, I was playing with cleft lips and then more MBD with the turned jaw and stuff, polymelia, stuff like that, because in the production notes, he specified he wanted a creature to look like that. It was suffering and also an abomination. And so I was looking up every, what's the word, every abnormality I could. I was also conscious of like, with certain abnormalities, I don't like saying like, oh, like it's so ugly and disgusting, and because you know real people have some of these conditions and that doesn't make them disgusting. It's just something that people have. So that was also something I was conscious of, because I don't like when people treat those things as such. But yeah, this is the final design I decided to stick with. I put a lot of fibromas, I think that's what they're called. I stuck with the turned jaw and a cleft lip. I also made it so some of these growths covered the eye, because that is an issue in a lot of overbred domestic animals where they have issues like that, even though this would be more of a genetically modified thing. There's a bunch of polymelia, maybe some scoliosis. I was going to do the gut bulging out, similar to this one. Like some animals will be born with organs that are too big for them proportionally, so it may not be deadly, but they just look a little strange. And I was thinking about that when I did that. And then obviously I was trying to aim for a more T-Rex silhouette by making it stand on two legs. With these traits, to make it realistic, I could not find a way to do that with this current version. In this, you can see I was like, oh, maybe I can make it bent, or it has a hard time holding up its head. And I think I'm going to revisit that because I do like that concept. But I found that it had a more cohesive look quadruped, so I understand how they got there. But I'm still going to revisit and try to make an upright bipedal version. That's enough of that, though. Here are just some silly sketches. I think making stuff really cubic and tube-like is fun. There's Adrian laying on his side. That was supposed to be Reese, I think. Or maybe a random... No, that was supposed to be Reese, yeah, because of his head and his body and stuff. That was supposed to be Lucas. It's hard to tell, but if you look at his hair, his like cockatoo mohawk thing is there. And then an Archie, which is very rare. That's a character I don't think I mentioned on here before. And more cartoony stuff. I really love exaggerated expressions. Yeah, more sketches and stuff, and then this is what the logo right now for Broker looks like. It hasn't been changed since I was 14, and I think that's an issue. But yeah, this says I love life, because I do. I'm having a really good time right now. I've been having just a really rough 2 years, and I wasn't able to draw because I was so stressed all the time. But that has changed, and that's really cool. So very grateful for that. This is when I met up with one of my friends, and we sat at a cafe in Laguna and drew. So he drew these. His name is Simon. Shout out Simon if you're watching this. And I just gave him like a bunch of demos because he was like, oh, how do you do form and shapes and stuff like that? And I was like, oh, okay, I got you. So I drew stuff like that and exaggeration. This example was to showcase, like the Lucas one, I was showing expressivity and shapes and exaggeration. So I drew a face of him semi-realistic, and I was like, okay, well, his mouth, the front part of his mouth is immobile. His lips are not flexible here. His lips are flexible here. Realistically, his eye ridges would not be mobile either, but for the sake of exaggeration and expression, I will make them mobile. I won't make this mobile, but I'll make the corners of his mouth mobile. because to make things expressive on a non-human thing, you have to make them analogous to human features. And so then I drew this as what's it called? As like a simile for his mouth corners, because it's like, oh, when you draw a mouth like this on a human, a cartoonish human, you need to exaggerate it, right? But with a mouth like that, it's, oh, where the jaw doesn't just cut off here, like where would the extra skin go? So in a lot of cartoonists, they'll do that. So that's what I was modeling there. And then I was also like doing simplified expressions and things like that. This was just characters interacting. What I do when I'm trying to figure out how characters act against each other is I do flour sacks, just good old fashioned, very classic flour sack, because they all have weight and mass. And because of the particles of flour, when they lean on each other like this, they interact with each other. And these free body diagrams and stuff like that were an example. Maybe I'll try and run through that really quick. So I don't know how familiar people are with physics or math, but when you have two particles that are attracted to each other, it's a very easy problem to solve, right? Because, let me find a pen. Here we go. Because if there's only two particles, and this is the exact same demo I gave to him, and they both have their own gravity and they're both attracted to each other, it's like really easy. It's like, oh, we can predict that movement because they're moving towards each other. But all of a sudden you add a third particle in, and now this one's attracted to this one's attracted to this one, and this one is attracted to this one, and then it's also attracted to this one. And the reason that's so hard to predict, because instead of only having two where you know that they're only acting on each other, you have a third one, and it's like, okay, well, we can predict when this one is going to move to this one, but then when this one moves, it also changes the attraction to this one, which changes the attraction to this one, which in turn changes both of the It's like, it's a whole mess, as you can see, and that's why you need like quantum computers to predict that stuff, and why it's really random to us right now. I'm very interested to see where scientific improvements go from there. That was a very shitty explanation of the third body problem. If you're interested, please look up a video of someone who actually knows what the freak is they're talking about. But yes, here is his beautiful art that he drew in my sketchbook. I love having my friends draw in my sketchbook. All this stuff right here, and then I drew that. And then I was drawing a cylinder rotations on the bottom to model 3D rotations, yeah, because that was like the reason I struggle less with form than I did before is because I've just been practicing rotating 3D objects in my head, and then when I get confused in my head, I just go to a piece of paper and try doing it there just to clear it up. These were some dinosaurs I drew in my physics class because I was bored. And then this is another thing I did in physics and tried to finish up later. I did a good thumbnail that I liked, and then I tried to scale it up, and I wasn't happy with it, and then I lost interest, so I stopped. But I have one of those 4-color ink pens, and that's what I was using to do this. This is another one I did, just a guy riding a giant bird, and then a stupid Marnie. And then it was also in physics. I was just very bored that day. And then here's a Marnie standing up, and then her name in silly lettering. Let's see. Oh, this was a 30-minute design exercise in my friend's graphic design class. Obviously, I'm not enrolled in the class. I just sit there in the corner until she's done. But I was like, hey, I'll give it a shot. So the goal was to redesign the Monster logo because the company Monster in this fictional scenario has decided that their current logo is too satanic and they have concerns about being appealing to the public, which is a true thing that happens. And so they want their new logo to radiate vitality and power. So how are you going to do that? My thought process here was, okay, monster. What is a good monster? I immediately went to manticore because it starts with an M. And then I was like, how can I make a lion head look like an M? And then I realized, I was like, wait, teeth. Like you can kind of make it look like the silhouette of teeth. And so I started playing around with that. So in this silhouette, you can see that I tried to make it, like this is probably still a little too satanic for what the imaginary client was asking. But I tried to make it look like fangs here, and then this would be either the word energy or monster under it, so it would look like a bottom row of teeth. And obviously I'm probably thinking about that because I'm a creature artist first and foremost. But yeah, I started to go into that, and I was like, oh, it'd be fun if this E could be the silhouette of a head of whatever monster at the time. Here's me playing with either monster energy, that's the fang word, or monster, and then energy underneath it, and maybe like a serif or sans serif, like a texture font. I don't know. I haven't used Adobe Illustrator seriously since I was like freshman in high school, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, instead of having just smooth right here and here, I decided to add curves to make it look more like teeth and fangs. And I did some E examples. I think Actually, looking at it now, I would still rather have the bottom be monster. I don't think energy is the best word for that. But I do like the shape silhouette. So yeah, that was my 30-minute design challenge. If I had Adobe, or if I knew how to use Adobe, I would have vectorized it, but I don't. Here is more cars and trying to make the broker logo again. I like where this was going. Maybe I'll revisit it. The issue is making a logo that keeps there's like a piece of dust, that keeps the integrity of the brand while also looking more professional. Because I do love the old one, but the story, sorry, thinking about Monster. The original, I think, the story has outgrown the original. The original story was a lot smaller, a lot more one-off, and more graffiti aligned. That has since changed. Graffiti exists in Broker. It's not the center like it used to be. Not that it was really the center before, it's just that Adrian used to be way bigger into it than he is in the current one. Or it was more relevant to the current one, so you'd see more. He's still the same level of into it, at least when he was 16. But yeah, speaking of the devil, there is Adrian on a truck. Yep. This was an active recall practice page for my differential equations midterm, which I got a 95% on. I will flex that because I failed my Calc 3 final exam. I passed the class, but it's been a little bit of an uphill battle in math for me. And yeah, just more active recall and whatever. But yeah, these specifically were composition practice. This was just some freehand sketching. I mean, all my sketches are freehand. I meant, I don't know, subconscious, like free of mind, meditative sketching. Same thing with these compositions, more active recall. And then I wanted to see if I could draw my fish with legs in a 3D angle, from a strange angle. More Santi, nothing crazy, just playing with the scale pattern. I was thinking of giving him this ridge, but like all of my characters have that ridge. Marnie has it on her tail. Lucas has it also on his tail. I think Archie has something similar to this on his neck. I was like, bro, I love it so much, but I cannot keep putting it on every single character. Like, kill your darlings. This is a sneak peek for something very special. I used to do a redraw of this thing called My Boyfriend is a Gator. I haven't done it in years because I've been in increasingly dubious circumstances in recent time. But I'm finally in a place where I'm like safe and I have consistent food and shelter, so I can actually focus on studying and like drawing and, I don't know, just being a human. So that's pretty cool. That's an improvement from what was going on last year. Yeah, and this was an exercise in stylization. I really love these two. I think this is so fun. I haven't drawn Adrian semi-realistic in so long. But yeah, I drew this, was super pleased with it, and I was like, you know, let's try and stylize this. I'm not super happy with the way he was stylized, but I am happy with the fact that I was able to do it. So I really enjoy that. Yeah, and Lucas, this was fun. Just like making a random scale pattern on a 3D curved plane. That was fun. I enjoyed that. So long since I've drawn him. Adrian and Lucas have always been my most drawn, so I used to be able to just draw them at the drop of a hat, but I'm just out of practice, so trying to get back into that. Yeah, and then I started drawing Reese, and then I got bored, so I didn't, but I do like these headshots of him. For some reason, I think it's because Marnie is a more recently designed character. I have no issues drawing her. I love drawing Marnie. She's so easy. She's like 3 circles. And this is another sketch page. I was trying to draw random stuff. Yeah, just sketching, having fun. I think having fun is one of the most important things to me to draw. Yeah, more flour sack exercises. Been experimenting and playing around with making weight, just more random stuff. Recently, we had a 2-point perspective project in my art class, so I was warming up for that and planning. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to do a car, a plane, a motorcycle? Keep in mind the assignment was way more simple than that. I just wanted to do something for myself to see what I could do when I was doing the most, if that makes sense, because it's been so long since I've done a perspective project like that. Yeah, this is a demo that my professor did for me because I was absent the previous week when he was showing it, so thank you, Professor. And then, yeah, more practicing. This is, I don't know, not a lot of people probably don't know what XYZ shapes are. It's where you draw the shape and then you reflect it, but you don't do it in everything is mathematical, period, actually. But the way that XYZ shapes are is you do the math without any of the math. You just do a lot of reflecting points and reference lines, which is fascinating. It also takes 1 trillion years, which is why a lot of artists will just throw that shit out instead of doing an actual XYZ plane. But yeah, just more practice with that. More funny angles. What is this? I have no clue what that is. Anyway, yeah, this was a car in extreme perspective. Just the design was like off the dome, which is why it's not super accurate, but it was really fun. I had a lot of fun playing around with perspective because I never do it like that. This was copied off of the board. There's this really just fantastic artist at the university I go to, and he does demos in comparative anatomy, which is animal anatomy in college classes, and they're fantastic. Yeah, more sketching, more random designs. Adrian stylized again. It's nice being able to draw his face. Yeah, just playing around with this rat thing, which you will see again. I love this design. I had so much fun. I just what's it called, full sended it, and I was like, damn, actually I really like the way this ugly little rat looks. Yeah, but this is the start of the end. I decided I wanted to do a monkey wrench and its components extruded out and duplicated and stuff. And then here's the planning for that. I don't have the piece with me because my professor is grading it, but once I do, maybe I'll show it. No, I think what I want to do is at the end of the semester, I'll do a tour of all the actual work I did for that art class. I think that'd be very interesting. It is a beginner art class, so for like freshmen and stuff. But the reason I took it is, number one, it was a GE for my university. And number two, I think that retouching on fundamentals in any field, math, engineering, art, music, is always a good idea. So I'm very satisfied. I actually don't get high grades usually. Me and my professor talked about it. It doesn't hurt my feelings or anything. It's because when you have more knowledge, it's harder to stick to basic assignment rules because you're trying to, this is his words, by the way, you're trying to paint a full picture, but that's not the demonstration that he's asking for. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I don't care if I'm getting, or I do care, but it doesn't hurt me if I'm getting docked points for assignment requirements. But if there is something technically wrong with my pieces, please let me know because that's my priority and what I want to fix. And yeah, and then I got a fountain pen, this bad boy, the thing I've been using. My professor also suggested I try it out because I showed him my still lives with dinosaurs. I was like, hey, is there any major technical flaws you see in this? And the only comment he had to make was that he hated the pen that I used because he thought it spoiled the drawing, which, well, he's welcome to that opinion. I like the pen. But yeah, I love this pen. I think it's amazing. It was $4. It's a Pilot Precise Varsity. You can get cheaper, probably, pens that are just fountain pens. But I think it's fantastic. It isn't permanent. This ink is not waterproof, but YOLO. It does bleed a little. It reminds me of the Metabang G Pen or the Clip Studio G Pen, if you're familiar with those, which is what this is based. Those are probably based off of something like this. But yeah, fantastic. I was playing around. I immediately got home because I was buying, actually, you can see it in the peripherals. I was buying like black mounting boards for this class and stuff. And then I also was like, hey, I should probably grab a fountain pen. So I've just been having a blast with this. Super fun. Always fun with a new tool. It also draws so smoothly as opposed to like a freaking Micron, for example. I don't know, man. I just cannot figure out those pens. I've been watching tutorials, reading Reddit posts, can't figure it out. But yes, more planning. For a moment, I was like, I want to do a plane and a motorcycle for this 2-point perspective. And then I got home and I was like, I'm not fucking doing that because I had like a physics assignment due at the same time too. It's like, yeah, I'm good. I don't know why I was trying to do the most where it mattered the least, but more sketches, like a car. And then, you know, when cars had antenna and you could like stick a ball on it, that was so fun. My mom used to have like a smiley face or the Jack in the Box face. Yeah. And then here's the rat thing from earlier. I was like, let me expand on this character. Maybe he's like definitely blue collar worker, maybe like a trucker or a mechanic. I was thinking electrician maybe, so I gave him a tool belt and then double knee pants because I used to work a really heavy physical labor job and kneeling all the time, you need those pants. But yeah, fantastic. I had so much fun. This is Truffles. Charles Schultz, the creator of Charlie Brown. My friend went on this Charlie Brown deep dive where he found out that Noah Schnapp was the one who voice acted for Charlie Brown in the 3D movie. But then they have this encyclopedia page with all the characters, and there's this girl named Truffles. She looks like Momo. I thought she was so scary, so I tried to draw her from memory. And this is an ugly little sketch of Adrian. More funny little sketches. My fish with human feet. And Adrian in a busted chair. this is more planning originally because the 2-point assignment required 3 spheres, one above, one on, and one below the horizon line. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a screw because there's cutouts in here that are interesting. And then I started doing it and I was like, just kidding. I don't want to do that. That's too hard. So I stopped. Or not that it was too hard, but I set it up wrong. And I was like, whatever, I don't really care. Yeah, and then I found out that the classmate that sits next to me in that class also read Wings of Fire and like read all the books, and I was like, no way, dude, I never meet Wings of Fire fans in the wild. So we went on a little renaissance, and I remember how to draw all the original 7 tribes. I know all their scale patterns. I'm sure I've forgotten some small details and stuff, but you know, you can never forget. And then this stuff is planning for the next assignment, so that's not really important. But yeah, I like this one a lot, this Nightwing headshot. And this is a to-do list, so I have to read this race car building manual, and then I have to create a presentation if I want to get on this research thing, and then I have a physics midterm next week, and then I have a bunch of just random, yeah, you know, it'd be like that. This was just a quick, well, what if the D-Rex redesign was bipedal? And it's very much closer to its original one. This is a xenomorph from memory because I, for some reason, decided to watch like just these random clips of Alien Resurrection. Very disturbing. The body horror was done really well, but I was upset for the rest of the day for like another reason too. But that was definitely on my mind. I was like, ooh. Yeah, more sketches, this dragon thing laying down, and then I wanted to draw the skeletal dissection of that and a swivel chair. And I finally found my blue gel pen that I bought specifically for school, and also because it had refills, because I feel bad for just buying pens and throwing them away. I think it's wasteful. And then I lost it, but then I found it again, so I was very happy to see my pen once more. And I really do enjoy these. But yeah, we're on the last page. So hopefully this video, well, what are we at? Oh my god, we're at 46 minutes. Okay, I think I'm just gonna upload direct to YouTube. But yeah, I love Trader Joe's. All my favorite gay people are there. And I love the one I frequent. But this is the last page. That's my friend's character, Nixis, or HCY Net. Changed username. But yeah, it's October. I love Halloween. I'm a fiend for Halloween. So I drew the main cast in Halloween costumes. Reese is a pumpkin. Lucas is a scarecrow. Adrian is a candy corn. He is unusually short here. I messed up. Don't know why I did that. Marnie is that one picture of Dwayne The Rock Johnson from either the 90s, but he's wearing like I forgot where it's from, but he's wearing a black turtleneck sweater, a chain, and a fanny pack, I think. So there's that. And then Marisol's a really lazy cat. And then, as always, I have my accomplishments at the end. So I made new friends. I joined 2 engineering-related clubs. I might do research, and that's cool. I got better at 2-point perspective. I got a fountain pen, I found my good pen, and then I went to Dino Fest, and those are all the things that happened that are really cool. But yes, I am so pleased with the sketchbook. I just had an absolute blast. A lot of good things happened. I feel like I'm finally back in the swing of things. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Even if it's just like 25, first of all, 25 people is a lot. Like 25 people are in my differential equations class. That's a lot of people. So I'm always grateful for people who comment and like my stuff. I think that's awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll see you next time.